Hi everyone, today I'm working on reglazing a fiberglass tub. I've done tubs in the past, mainly clawfoot tubs, and so I'm not really messing with fiberglass. It's a little bit different material, it works a little bit different, and so I'm going to do this short video and try to, well, several short videos and try to piece them together in the end so that you have one clear shot to see what I'm doing. But I started off with an old trailer tub, and we tried to buy tubs, but a mobile home, the guest bath is like 54 or 57 inches, so you can't fit a standard tub in. You need a 60-inch tub, usually. And so we took an old tub out of my son's old master bedroom and put it in his guest bedroom to refinish it. So if it works, it does, and if it doesn't, that's fine. We can rip it out and purchase a new one. But hopefully it does, and then we'll have a free tub with just the cost of the appliance epoxy, which is what I'm using this time. Some sandpaper and a brush, maybe 20 bucks is what I spent. And so we'll see how it goes, and I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks. So here's the tub I'm working on. This is my son's trailer, and the tub in the guest bath has to be super short for a mobile home, and so we found this one. This is an old one out of a master bath, and it's definitely got some issues, as you can see. I've wiped it out with the warm soapy Dawn dish soap, and now I'm trying to scrub it down. The biggest problem I see is these little rust spots. I'm using a wet dry 800 sandpaper, and so wet dry, once it gets wet, that's what helps it to be able to sand. And so you see these little spots here? Because it's a wet dry sand, I can sit here and scrub it like this, and I'm not ruining the finish of a fiberglass tub. A fiberglass tub, you cannot use regular sandpaper. I've done a few cast iron tubs, and that's nice because you can use sandpaper, you can use steel wool, whatever you got to do to get the surface prepped, and it doesn't really hurt it. You see that slowly, the bottom of the tub, I don't know if you can see, but it's raised, and so it's not a smooth surface. So I'm getting this finished to where I want it, and then I'm gonna paint over it with my glaze and hope that it comes out okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and prep the whole tub like this all the way around to try to get any imperfections the best I can, and then I will show you what it's gonna look like as I begin to glaze it. I also normally prep it afterwards with alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is my favorite. I usually use tub paint that reglazes it, but I found this appliance epoxy, and I was told that it works the same way. If it does work the same way, this is $15 instead of $40 for the kit, and it will hopefully do this whole tub, whereas the kit, I probably would have had to have 2 boxes to do, because I don't know if you can tell, while this tub is only 50 inches long, it's actually almost 4 foot wide. So it's pretty wide. And I have the step and all this down here. So again, I clean the surface with soap. Now I'm prepping the surface with wet dry sand because it's a fiberglass tub. And then I do have this as a backup for emergencies if I can't get everything else, but you cannot use this if your drain is connected. My drain is just a false drain right now. This will strip your pipes. It will ruin your pipes. And that's why my preference is to use rubbing alcohol, which I can't get to right now, but that's what I'm going to use next. So clean, soap and water, rinse, sand with wet dry sand or regular sand or steel wool if you're using metal. Then re-clean or wipe with either this, which I'm not really excited about using this, but I'm going to attempt to use it in spots as needed because, again, my preference is alcohol. Then I'm going to rinse it again with water, and then I'm going to begin to brush this on. Now they have a brush application of the tub surround. If you want to go get the good stuff, you can. They have a good spray kind. I'm not a very good sprayer. I like the look of the brush. I got me a good quality brush to brush it on with. And then I also got me some rubber gloves. That's another reason why I got me paint thinner, because this stuff does not wash off, people. You need to wear old clothes, and you need to wear rubber gloves and a face mask if you can find one in COVID, because this is going to smell, and you're usually in a tight space in a bathroom, and so you need to have a fan on, you need to have air going, otherwise you're going to be sick because the smells will just knock you out. Okay, so I'll update you in a minute with the rest of or in a second video with the next step. Okay, so I prepped the surface, and you can see it's not perfect. I've left a little bit of this rust because this is that part of the tub I was telling you about that's not flat. It's like raised. And I don't want to scrub that too much. I don't want to cause issues later. I don't want to damage the fiberglass top. And if you're thinking that you can go to the next step and just clean your tub because you're thinking, oh, well, my tub isn't as bad as her tub, I can just go and clean it and I'll be fine, and I can just paint. I'm telling you can't, because what's going to happen is if you've ever went and got your nails done. Here, let me turn this around. I'm sorry, I'm talking to the tub. I look like I'm getting ready to do a tub, so it's not attractive. But, oh, sorry, it won't flip. Anyway, fine. So if you're thinking it's okay to go ahead and wipe your tub and paint, the reality is when you go to get your nails, like if you've ever got acrylic nails done and how they take that buffering thing and they just buffer the tar out of the top of your nail, the reason why they do that is because you have a natural coating on the top of your nail that makes it slick, just like the tub has a natural surface that makes it slick and waterproof. If you do not remove that, if you do not sand it in any way, if you do not prep it in any way, your paint is not going to stick. It's going to run. It's going to separate. It's going to be like putting oil and water, or water, you know what I'm saying, and it's not going to look good. So again, you have to take these steps or it won't be right. I'm not a professional. I'm just doing this because I enjoy it. So if you know a better way, that's great, but this is what I'm doing for my home, and I'm just telling you the things that I've done in the past that have caused problems. And again, I'm hoping this will cover. If it doesn't cover because I've sanded it and whatever, then I'm probably just going to have to start over. I might even have to get the correct paint that's made for tubs. But for now, I'm going to try this and see if it works. So this is the first coat, and you can see that there are brush strokes. You're going to see brush strokes. You're using a brush. But the reality is this is similar to like a cabinet paint, if you've ever used a cabinet paint. And what's going to begin to happen is those brush strokes are going to lift out as you paint. You don't want a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want it to look really bad, but if you have a good quality brush, it should work out. But you see how that kind of just lifts and smooths as you go? And so it will come out. And if you really have to, when you're done, you can use a really, really, really fine sandpaper, buff it down, and put a second coat on it. I don't think I've ever had to do that except for maybe one time when I was doing an old cast iron tub, and it just was not covering. But I think you'll be fine with just one good coat, and just give it a minute, let it dry. Don't just think, oh well, look, I can see strokes there, I can see the brush strokes, I can see through, I can actually see the tub. Let it dry, be patient, just like when you're doing your fingernails. You can't paint your fingernails and go on with that second coat. You're going to mess it up every time. You have to be patient, you have to let it dry, you have to let it do what it's designed to do. Okay? Okay, so can you see the rust in the video? Okay, so this isn't looking perfect. I'm not one of those people, so if you want perfect, you probably should watch a different video. But you can see how this is totally covering the rust, or whatever that is. I'm assuming it's rust because it had a bunch of trash in it when I pulled it out. You see how you can see my brush strokes as I do it, but then the brush strokes start to fade as it lifts. I don't know how else to explain that to you, but I assure you it does. It's very, very similar to nail polish or doing fake nails. This is, you see how that's got lines there? It'll begin to even out as it dries. Okay. Okay, so normally I would tape off this drain plug really well, but this isn't the plumbing that's going to stay in it. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to have to touch it up a little bit whenever I go to put the new plumbing in. But, well, actually my son's fitting plumbing in. I do not touch plumbing. I hate plumbing. Anyway, But this is the before, or well, here you go. This is the before, sorry. And this is the after for now. So as you can tell, just a little bit of effort, a little bit of elbow grease, I guess you'd say. And it really changes the look of what otherwise would be a kind of bathroom. Okay. Okay, so I started another video and forgot to push record, but so you missed that. But what I was saying is that on these curves and the step here and alongside the toilet where we don't have very much room, you're gonna have corners that just don't look good. You see how they have this edge right here? That's where when I was painting the inside, it dried before I could come out here and paint the outside. But no matter how bad this looks, you do not want to continue to take the paint and wipe at it, because if you do that, it's going to build up, or like over here, it's actually going to pull the paint away. You see that there where I try to add a second coat? You can't do that. You've got to let your initial coat dry. And then if it's not perfect, because we got like this little seam here, again, these lines won't show, but this seam here, right there, and that seam there, that happened because the inside of my tub was drying before I could get to the outside. The temperature of the room affects it. All kinds of things affect it. I'm in Missouri. It's probably upwards of 70 degrees today, and I have the AC on. Don't necessarily recommend that, but you got to do what you got to do. And so just if you buff that out, like say, okay, you've got all the way done and you've got these lines that you don't like, take your wet dry sand and you buff that out a little, get it a little damp, just a little damp, and then buff that out a little and make it smooth. And then make sure once you do that, let me show you again. This is the sandpaper I use, and it says specifically wet or dry. But if you do that, make sure then you take a good like microfiber cloth or something and wipe the debris or the dust off afterwards. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. You're going to make just a bigger mess than what you started off. I can't say it enough. It's very similar to doing your nails. Just applying acrylic nail or even the gel nails. Anything that you would think that, oh, if I buff my nail, then I have to wipe it, right? So it's a very similar process. The brush strokes will dissipate, hopefully. If not, we'll come back and we'll buff it out a little. You got to make sure the paint is dry. You don't want to come back in here in an hour and be like, oh, this is dry enough, and start buffing it. That is not going to work. And so you have to let it dry. Probably you want to read your can, but I would say at least overnight. In some instances, maybe even 48 hours before you start trying to buff and fix any mistakes. I've had people use the tub within a few days of me putting the epoxy on it. So it's not the long process. You don't have to go a week without taking a tub, or taking a bath, I'm sorry. Just again, follow whatever the guidelines are on the can of whatever you bought and go by it. I've got almost done here, and again, it doesn't look the best, but it's better. I've gotten almost done here, and I haven't even used a quarter of this can, so I have enough here to help my friend do her tub. I also have plenty of wet dry sandpaper left, so I spent less than 20 bucks. I got the tub for free, and we have a whole new nice tub here, and I'll show you some of the finished looks whenever I'm done. Okay, so it's not finished by any means, but I've got the first coat on completely. It's not perfect for sure. There's lots of places where I'm going to have to touch up. I'm trying not to get my own light here so you can see how the lines are through there and the brush strokes again. And so I cannot stand waiting on paint to dry. So my preference would be just to keep going over it and going over it and trying to make it look good. But you can't do that. You just can't do that with this stuff. You have to let the initial coat dry and then go back and put a second coat or fix any imperfections that you have in it. So I don't think it looks too bad for my initial coat. Definitely looks 100 times better than what it did. Again, I still have plenty of paint in my can. I don't know if you can see there. I didn't get paint all over my brush, which is quite a miracle for me. I did get some on my hands because, to be honest, I left my gloves in the other room and I was too lazy to get up and go get them again once I got down. I didn't want to get back up. And so that's going to be fun getting off. It's not as bad as the paint that they used for the actual tubs. It doesn't wash off that bad with soap and water, but it is something you preferably don't want to get on your hands. Okay, I hope that helps. And if I can get back over here after it's dry to show you the second coat, I'll finish the video with that.